Hello, and welcome to Please Me. Last week, Nate Zalesnik was on the show talking about the incredible Indonesian martial arts and mindfulness practice he brought back to the USA. He speaks about the incredible journey it has taken him on and how this practice helps his students to connect with their sexuality by creating a space for transformation. Be sure to check it out. This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Eve is a licensed physical therapist who is on a mission to destigmatize conversations about sex. In her PT practice, Eve treats conditions related to sexual health. Please relax and enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex by turning the sheets into our classroom. I am so excited to have Lexi Sylver back on the show today for an encore interview. She was on season 1 and she was amazing, and I am so excited to have her back today. Lexi Sylver is a media director of SDC.com, and she is also an internationally accredited relationship and life coach, and she specializes in open relationships and the swingers world. And I know that she helps a lot of newbies getting into the lifestyle. So I am so excited to pick her brain today and to learn more about ethical non-monogamy and all sorts of other fun topics that we have prepared for you today. So without further ado, let me welcome Lexi Sylver. Hi, Lexi. How are you today?
Hi, Eve. Thank you for having me back on your show. I'm so excited to be here, always to talk to you. It's always so fun. And I am doing, I guess I am Lexcellent, as I would say.
I love that. Lexcellent, Lexuality. You have your whole language, a whole language just dedicated to you. So I love that.
It's called a lexicon, but okay.
Okay, well, let's get all the words out there, all the new words that I need to look up. But I love that. Yes, and the lexicon. She's got her own lexicon. So once you get to know her, you'll be speaking her language in no time.
That's right.
So I have a question to get started here about maturity, because for me, maturity, and I know we touched about this the first time we talked, maturity has nothing to do with age. Do you think that there are certain characteristics that you would say are necessary in order to start or be introduced to the ethical non-monogamous world or the open relationship world?
Absolutely. I think that's the first time I've ever been asked that question specifically. So I love that you asked it. Yeah, one major thing is self-awareness. Understanding how, your behaviors, your actions impact others. Also being aware of other people's, their social signals, being aware of what they're telling you, which I understand some people who are neurodiverse may not be able to do so. But ideally, it's also tuning into the frequency about of other people who, particularly your partner, and, making sure that you're able to meet their needs and you understand what those needs are. But also, one other thing is knowing yourself, knowing what it is that you want, knowing what it is that you want from your life personally as an individual, but also if you're partnered up, your life with your partner or partners. So making sure that you understand, like if you are going, for example, from monogamy to open, that understanding why, what is it exactly that you are seeking from the open lifestyle? What need is it filling, or what desire is it potentially going to fulfill for you? How is that going to change your life? How is that going to impact you on a personal level? How might that impact your relationship? And so really understanding your reasons behind all of that. Hopefully that one of the reasons is not it's going to fix your relationship, because if you're going from monogamy to open, as we talked about last time, Eve, and you are trying to fix something that's broken in your relationship already, it is not going to work. It's not a fix. So those two things, that's the self-awareness, but also like understanding your motivations, your reasons, really understanding yourself. Those are two very, very important things that are key to maturity. And, if you have that, if you possess those, at least to start, okay, obviously there are more qualities, then you can experience a lot of pleasures in an open relationship.
Absolutely. Being in tune with who you are and what you want. And we talked a lot about communication too. And I feel like just adding to that is, really being open to uncomfortable conversations and viewing them in a way that is, instead of thinking of it as being uncomfortable or difficult, thinking of it as being a gift, because, you are trying to bring pleasure into your and your partner's life. So how do you tease that out with your partner to really create the pleasurable life that you deserve, both deserve or more deserve, depending on your relationship. So, reframing the idea of having those difficult conversations, I think is so helpful because, all of it just brings you closer to your partner.
Absolutely. So once you're starting with understanding yourself, then you can communicate that to your partner. And in 100% of the couples that I coach, communication is always an issue. And by issue, I also mean opportunity for growth and connection, just like what you said. And, having difficult conversations or challenging conversations and absolutely bring you closer. But before you get into a conversation with your partner about opening up your relationship, first ask yourself, what's your relationship like now? What are, if you understand, like what I said before, what is your reason, or what are your reasons, or what are your motivations for wanting to open up your relationship? If you are basically not on the same page with your partner already in your monogamous relationship, and there's something that can be fixed, do that first before you open up that idea, because your partner's motivations for wanting to open up might be very minimal if your relationship as it is not working, or is lacking something, or requires work. So, all of this stuff plays in together, but having, before you have those conversations too, you could also tease out, like you said, Eve, I love that, how you can tease out some information from your partner to get a better feel of how they might be interested or not. There are lots of mainstream shows now that introduce the idea of open relationships, from just monogamous or a random threesome or whatever label you want to give it, all the way up to polyamory and, and plus, right? So there are lots of ways that you could introduce this into conversation while you're watching a show like that with your partner, or while you're listening to a really cool podcast like this one, for example. And, ask your partner, what do you think about that? How do, like, oh, I really thought this was interesting. How about you? And just get a better feel for your partner's responses. That'll already give you a gateway into, well, is this the right time to propose something or not? And there's always one person who is ready to do it and the other who is not quite there yet. So if you are the faster one, you need to wait a little bit and tease out these answers and feelings and reactions and vibes and feel your way through this. So yeah, it could be very complicated, but you need to do all those things first. It's recommended that you maybe try some of those things first.
Yes, absolutely. And having those conversations, and trying to figure out if your partner would even be open to that is, something that you should think about before you actually bring it up. But you'll really never know until you try. And I have to say that, in my experience, and this is completely my experience, but I do believe that the universe brings you what you want and what you need. And so having these, thought processes and kind of thinking about all of the details that we're talking about, really kind of helps to form your idea of what you want. And then you can, like you said, communicate that with your partner. And I think it's interesting to think about being on there's, like you said, there's one person that's usually ready and another person that's not so ready. And I wonder how difficult it is for the person that's maybe not so ready to kind of become ready. What sorts of things do you share with your, couple clients to help them to move forward and become more ready? And I know that you already mentioned, making sure that your partner's, being cared for, is, happy, is, focusing on your partner, I would say would be so important. You want to just elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, if you're the faster person and you're listening to this and you're like, I would love to talk to my partner about this, I don't know how to bring it up. It's not always easy, but you do need to have a lot of patience because you are going to need to go one small step at a time and check in with each other as you're going through each small step. But before you even do that, your partner who is maybe not quite ready or not sure, explore things with them, listen to more podcasts, get more information to really help them understand what you could both possibly get out of this as individuals and as a couple. If your partner doesn't see or understand what it is that could benefit them or what desires that they could have fulfilled and, what fantasies they could have come to life if that's something that they want. If they don't see that, then why would they do that just for you, right? That's a big ask. So you need to make sure that, also it doesn't hurt to inform yourself more about this because there's so much to know about the open lifestyle. It's why I do my Swinging 101 series. It's really crucial to give your partner an opportunity to see what could be in it for them and how it could actually benefit your relationship. So, I think that's really essential.
Yes, I love the idea of educating yourself together with your partner because then you're hearing all of the same information at the same time and you can really have these amazing conversations kind of, branch off of that education or those, webinars or whatever it is that you're listening to, similar to the ones that I've been doing, on SDC.com, to help people to, ask their questions. And it's a really great idea. So since we were talking about moving from monogamy to open relationships, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on the myth of monogamy.
So I don't really have I have a lot to say about this, right? So my belief / my experience is that, while there are some people who feel like monogamy is right for them and it is, what they want, doesn't feel natural for a lot of people. And that's why there's a lot of cheating in relationships. That's one of the various reasons why there are cheating relationships. Besides, fulfilling other desires or wanting attention or a whole number of other reasons why people cheat. For a lot of people, it doesn't feel natural to just be with one person. And that's fine. For the people for whom it does feel natural to just be with one person, that is fantastic. But how we got here is also, we really, I don't think we pay enough attention to all of the influences around us that are typically monogamous, or that support the framework of monogamy and celebrate that, my one and only, my one true love, all of these different ideas, which from a mathematically, from a statistics perspective, is virtually impossible for that to be the case. But it just doesn't, it's not a natural I don't think, a natural thing. If we choose to be with one person, that is a choice. It's also a choice to open up your relationship to other possibilities. These are all choices. But if you're kind of operating on this idea that because you've only seen monogamy in, your family, friends, these are the types of shows that you watch, that you enjoy, the stories you like, that's great. But these are also all influencing you towards one specific direction. And the idea of open influences, or, influences like you, Eve, saying this is a whole new way of thinking about relationships. You don't have to be bound by this one thing and, by only one person. And you could explore with your person or your people, however you choose. It's not the only way. Because when I was growing up, I only saw monogamy around me. And I didn't know anybody who thought or felt the way I did. I always felt like I was the odd person out because I didn't feel like it was natural inside me to just be with one person. It never felt natural to me. And it took me until, I would say probably my early 20s to figure out that, okay, well, you know what? This is natural. And I started to notice that other people also found monogamy unnatural for them. So without those influences, folks, you are not going to know what's out there for you, what's potentially out there for you.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, learning about all sorts of relationship styles. It's the only way to know which one's going to really work for you and the partner you're with. And you may differ in what you want. One person might want to be monogamous and the other person might want to, explore, but having those conversations is what's so key, because if you're both in agreement that one of you wants to be monogamous and the other one wants to be, in an open relationship, and that is okay with the both of you, then that is an ethically, an ethical relationship. I won't say monogamous or non, because we're talking about two separate things, but it's an ethical relationship because you're having those conversations. But if you are in a relationship with somebody, and it's quote unquote monogamous, and one person is cheating and not telling the other person, that is not ethical, And so I love the concept of ethical, the word ethical in the title or description, ethical non-monogamy, because it really is having integrity in your relationship. That's what it's all about. Saying what you say you're going to do, and being honest and really communicating all of your desires to the person that you care most about, whether it be one person or more than one, depending on what your relationship style is. But I think it's so important. So wouldn't you say that?
Oh, 100%. The communication part, though, can be tough. It can be tough. You also have to get up the courage to talk to your partner about a sensitive thing like, I want to have sex with somebody else. My God, that's not usually when you say it like that, there are ways to approach it also, but being on the same page, operating as a team. If you're a team, and ultimately, whatever label you want to give your relationship, monogamous, monogamish, open, open-minded, whatever, swinger, it doesn't matter, because even two swingers could have wildly different boundaries and interpretations of what their relationship is like. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Who cares? Do what feels right for the two of you. Like you said, Eve, one of you could be open and the other could, continue to be monogamous if that works for you. But that requires a lot of communication and talking about boundaries and what feels right, what isn't okay. While you're going to check in with each other. And if you're in your current relationship, if you are already not seeing eye to eye on stuff and you're having a hard time communicating, then imagine at that next level how much more communication you're going to have to do. So definitely smooth out some of the kinks before you decide to open up.
Unless you want to bring those kinks into your world,
But those are good kinks. Those are good kinks. Those are healthy kinks. Yes, those are very healthy kinks.
All these play on words today.
I love it.
So what would you say the difference is between swinging and polyamory?
So again, for me, like with labels, I'm not a fan, but they're useful.
I am not either.
Yeah, but they're useful because some people will better understand, what it is that they're interested in by some of these. Now, there are so many different definitions under the umbrella of ethical non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy. Tons of different definitions, styles, and still each one comes with its own individual and unique, set of boundaries. But swinging often is more sexual. It's about the sexual connection, sexual exploration. That's not to say that, there are, triads or throuples, as a lot of people say, or, polycules polycules. I mean, just multiple partners, groups of multiple partners, who engage in swinging behaviors. But ultimately, swinging is seen as more of a sexual connection, and in polyamory, also with the amory, there's more of a relationship component behind it. So whereas a swinger or a couple who's swinging might go to a club for a weekend, or, they might go on these special trips, like to Hito or, other like a Capdag and friends where they can openly celebrate their openness. There are a lot of different ways that you can swing or, be polyamorous or anything in between. But there are lots of shared characteristics, but ultimately most swingers are not looking for a romantic relationship outside of their relationship when it's a couple. For singles, it could be a whole different story, but that's where the conversations come in. If you're swinging and you start off just doing it for the extra sexual stimulation or spice, then, maybe you will meet somebody that you want to have a relationship with. It's always a possibility, but that's usually not what a typical swinger is looking for when they enter the open lifestyle.
It's interesting because I feel like a lot of times people, have an idea of what something is. And then as they learn more about it, sort of their idea of what they want sort of changes as time goes on. And so I just like the concept of, open relationships because it sort of encompasses everything. And actually on another podcast that I was listening to, the Mizzy Bender show, she was interviewing a couple who coined the term modern couple, and when they were at a party and were introducing people so that they would be able to, because they would have, all sorts of people in their parties, not always people that were, in the quote unquote lifestyle, but they wanted to introduce those people to other people who might also be open to, learning more about them in that way. So they would say that they were a modern couple. And I love the concept of that because I do think that, relationships have changed so much. And, before, maybe 50 years ago, 70% of the population, the adult population was married, in the US. And now it's in the 40s. It's such a huge difference, and relationships are changing. And like you said, on shows, we're hearing more about, thruples and other open relationship styles. And so I like that concept of having, talking about a modern couple because it really just implies that they are open-minded,
I love that. That's a really good, that's a good term. It encompasses quite a lot.
Yeah. And if you're, running in and, socializing in circles that are mixed, you don't want to say anything that's going to offend another person. And a lot of times people keep this type of relationship, on the DL, right? They're not like, shouting from the rooftops that they're having these kinds of relationships because, societally, they're really not considered,
they're not as accepted. There's a lot of shame. There is a veil of secrecy when it comes to the open lifestyle, and there shouldn't be. There absolutely shouldn't be.
I agree. So I want to explore the idea that women seem to take the lead in open, or I'm going to say swingers relationships or the swingers lifestyle. Would you agree with that? And can you elaborate on that?
So that is often the case in terms of, so even if it's like in a typical, heterosexual couple, they're, male, female, even if the man is the one who's more ready to start, he will, in theory and in practice, this is the best thing that you can do, is allow your female partner to take the lead based on what she is comfortable with. So, again, you are a team, right? You're a team, but in the lifestyle in general, it's all about women. And that's one of the things that drew me to the lifestyle in the first place. It gives us a space to celebrate our, I like to say, sexuality, our sexuality, our authentic selves, and in a space, even if it's a public space, and we could be as slutty as we desire, and we are celebrated for it. I mean, really? That is, for me, this is perfect. This is exactly what I've always wanted. So, having a space where women of all shapes and sizes are like, we are elevated, we are on a pedestal, not just, for sexual position purposes, but also, this is one of the most common things in, typical male-female partnered relationships, going into lifestyle couples who are looking for their gateway experience. And that is a threesome with another woman. Now, that's not always the case, but it is predominantly the case. And that single woman is called the unicorn. So because of the scarcity, of single women in the lifestyle who are open to being with a couple, even if they're not bisexual or pansexual or whatever type of sexuality that would include that other partner, there are lots of things you could still do, even so. But, that because that is the gateway experience that a lot of couples seek, because a lot of, I have to say this, that I am very, very happy that a lot of women who have never been able to be with another woman, who have fantasized about it, who have maybe been in a long-term partnership and have never had that chance, finally getting that opportunity. And I've seen it and experienced it, and it is really something to be able to celebrate your sexuality in that way. It's a part of your identity or a fantasy. But it really depends. For some people, it is an identity. Like for myself, I'm pansexual. But also for some people, they're just looking for the experience. Not just to say like I did this, but to live it and to do that with their partner potentially too. So women rule. The lifestyle is about consent. Again, consensual non-monogamy, consent every step of the way. But that is important. There are lots of rules for parties and clubs that are specific to what you can do, what you can't do, security that's in place to make sure that everybody is getting along and everything's going smoothly and is consensual. All of these are designed to protect women. And I love that.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, you've experienced that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's true that, you have to really make sure that the female part of the couple is comfortable, because if that's not the case, then you will be leaving early and you will not be having a lot of fun. So definitely. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned the gateway experience to be a threesome with another woman. And I wonder very much if that's not the man's influence wanting that fantasy of having two women, because I think that the gateway experience should really go both ways, in my opinion, because I think a lot of women might fantasize with having, two men, but the man in the couple may not be comfortable with that. And so I personally, and that's just my opinion, and I don't know if it's statistically true or not, but, I feel like, that gateway experience should be more 50-50. What do you say about that?
I mean, it depends on what the woman wants. I have met many couples where the woman was the one who wanted to initiate this because she always wanted to be with a woman. And that was, part of the whole thing. And for my experience in talking to, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of swingers at this point, that does seem to be, very often the case. And just something to keep in mind too, if you and your partner are not on the same page about the experiences that you want to have, which you should absolutely figure out before you go to a club or a party or any of that, then that's not going to go well. It has to go both ways, like you said, Eve, in the sense of both partners have to feel like they're getting what they want out of it. And even if it's not all in one unique experience, maybe you have a threesome with a woman 1 week, and then maybe a few weeks later you fulfill the other person's fantasy. Also, gotta say this, lots of men want to watch your partner with another man.
Yes.
Lots.
Yes. That's true.
Lots.
That's true.
Yeah.
So it is nice to think about, trying different things. And, maybe the first, like you said, gateway experience is for the woman to be with another woman, which maybe she had never done before, and I think that is an amazing exploration. But, building upon that and changing it up time after time, is going to be more exciting, and, really having those conversations about your fantasies. How do you coach your clients to talk about their fantasies?
Well, first you need to know what you want. So if you are, I've coached a lot of people who've been blocked by, shame and, a lot of feelings of shame, and not even having had the opportunity to explore their own sexuality, their own desires. So, I mean, if you don't know what you want or what you might be into, that's definitely a starting off point, I would say. And, knowing that as long as it's legal and consensual and you're not hurting anybody who doesn't want to be hurt, there's where the kink gets in there, Eve. As long as all of those are in place, you could make your fantasies happen. But talking about them doesn't mean you need to have them. So I remember, talking about your fantasies to your partner doesn't necessarily mean you want to do them in real life. And sometimes it's just to stimulate conversation or to spice things up, sexually between the two of you. So there are lots of really cool reasons to share your fantasies, but you need to know for yourself what you want first. And, you need to feel comfortable with your partner and to trust them. A lot of people are blocked because they feel like their partner will judge them for what their fantasies are. Or that, they would, say something or look at them in a different way. Like, imagine somebody who maybe, like you said, Eve, like a woman who wants to have sex with two men at the same time, her partner and somebody else, and not knowing how to bring that up to her partner. That can be tough. So, making sure you're both comfortable with each other and you're already able to talk about sex, even just between the two of you. That's tough enough as it is.
That's so key. Yes.
I'd like
having those conversations.
Yeah. Being open to having those conversations and checking in with each other, even just about, sex between the two of you, making sure you're getting what you want too. Just because you're opening up your relationship doesn't mean you all of a sudden have to give up your one-on-one, connections, sexually speaking. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really should be accentuating those one-on-one experiences and building upon that, So, and, there's so many different reasons why people might enter into relationships like this. And, sometimes, and I'm just thinking about medical reasons why, sometimes one partner is unable to perform and really give their partner what they need sexually. And so they open it up, because of that reason. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So, I mean, there are lots of different cases. In case of, in some cases, disability, medical illnesses that make it not difficult to, that make it challenging to, move around or have that mobility, or sometimes even just to stimulate yourself, depends on what's going on. Sometimes it's a matter of, performance anxiety, right? Too, where you're not able to get hard. It could just be low desire. There could be all kinds of hormonal issues. This is all your area, Eve. This is all you. And you know way more about this than I do for sure. And it's only the tip of the iceberg, but and regardless of the case, whether one person can or can't perform, like you said before, making sure you're on the same page as your partner. And you could, as long as you're openly communicating and you trust each other, and you can, create boundaries together and stick to those boundaries, you can make any type of relationship dynamic work. So, it depends on what's right for you. You can thrive in a relationship where only one person is going off and doing, whatever is within the range of your open boundaries. You can thrive.
Absolutely. There's really there's no option that's not a possibility. I mean, the sky's the limit, having the conversations and communicating about what your wants and desires are is basically what we're trying to say here is the most important thing in relationship, because otherwise you really aren't going to get your desires or your needs met if you're not communicating them. And you could be married for 20, 30, 50 years and still not be getting your desires met because you're not comfortable having those conversations, and I find that to be sad. I think, it's important to talk to your partner and really tell them what you'd like to experiment with. I mean, why not? Life is way too short.
Yes. And you deserve it. You deserve to experience it.
Absolutely. Everybody is deserving of love and pleasure, whether it's you loving yourself and pleasuring yourself or experiencing that with somebody else. So let's talk about nudity and shame. We were born naked and shame free, right? So what happens along the way? We already talked about societal norms, right? But what is your view on nudity and just being free?
So nudity is often confused with sexuality in the sense that people make nudity about sex. It isn't. Have you ever been to a nudist community where people are just going about their day to day, but they're just not wearing clothes? It's quite a lifestyle. I've experienced it. It is quite a lifestyle, and it is very liberating. Just seeing somebody naked doesn't necessarily mean it's in a sexual way. And, there's so much art that involves nudity, and it's not even specifically that it's erotic. It's just a celebration of life and liberation. And then what happens along the way is, you ask, my God, so much. We have generational things happen where, for instance, your parents are saying, cover up, or, you should wear more clothes, or, we hear a lot of things, even as kids at a certain point in time, it becomes strange for parents to see their kids running around the house naked. But when you're a kid, when you're like a toddler, you're basically, that's not an issue. When does it become an issue? When does that start to, have these, let's say, parents or people saying, you need to put on more clothes, or, you wear this, or in not good cases, you're dressed like a slut, making it about it. There's a lot that goes into it, but our upbringing for those of us who were not born into a nudist community, and I know some people who have actually, it's kind of fascinating. But shame is a matter of all of the influences. Is the school, religion, politics, your family life, friends, neighbors, everything, everybody telling you nudity is bad. And in some cultures, it's a religious thing where, you are even what we consider, like even what you're wearing right now, Eve, which is very sexy, would not fly in some countries, as we know. So it really depends. But in general, here in North America, when it comes to nudity, everybody automatically attaches it to sex, but it's not the case. We have a lot of damage from what people have told us about what is natural, what is not natural, what is good, what is bad, and not allow us also to, understand that there are different perspectives around things. So again, with what we said, your behavior, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs are very often modeled upon the influences that you have been surrounded with, that you've absorbed even without realizing it, TV that you watched, etc. Very much affected by that. So if you feel shameful about your body, or your body doesn't look a certain way, or, but you're not happy with the stretch marks on your legs. I have stretch marks on my legs. We are all human beings. There is no shame in any of these things. So being able to celebrate yourself also, which is not easy because a lot of us compare to other people, but celebrating yourself as you are, just removing shame when you're looking at yourself, when you're seeing yourself naked. It's not a sexual thing. Imagine it's just, this is your temple. This is the body that is housing so many things, keeping you alive,
Yes, I totally believe that. And, we were eliminating the, quote unquote, spirituality from the conversation, but you did say that your body is your temple. And I believe that so much. I mean, you are the sole creator of your life, and your body is going to carry you through that life. So how do you treat it, and do you put shame on it, or do you love it unconditionally, and I think that erasing that shame allows us to really be more connected to our true authentic selves. And then we can explore, having that body positivity, having that self-love, and having those experiences with nudity that maybe you hadn't had in the past because of all of those societal norms that were holding you back, And when you do sort of create that space for yourself and then allow yourself to explore, with being nude, say in, maybe just walking around your home, maybe you don't drink, maybe you don't go and make yourself coffee, in the nude, and exploring that. I mean, it is very liberating. You don't have to be in a public place. Like you said, it's not a sexual thing. This is how we were born. Little kids run around naked all the time. We're not, our jaws aren't on the floor. It's not a big deal. And it's really not a big deal to be naked, and it's very liberating. So I don't know. I encourage people to explore, even in their own homes, even in their own, bedrooms or whatever. Don't throw that robe on immediately. Just walk around and let your body be free.
Even Lexi tell you to get naked, folks. Get naked, embrace your body, love it, enjoy it, feel liberated, express yourself. I love that.
I'm so with you. Definitely give it a shot. I love that. Well, Lexi, you know that I always ask my guests this one question, and you answered it on the first podcast, but hey, maybe you'll have a different answer now. People change, right?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
And actually you answered this really well the first time too. So my question to you is, what is your favorite sex position?
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure last time I said doggy style because I have so much to love about it.
Didn't.
I did. Okay.
No.
I either said reverse cowgirl.
Yes.
That's true. Listen, when I'm on top in reverse cowgirl, I like to call it my finisher because I not yet met anybody who's been able to resist what my ass can do. But same with doggy style. I just have a very nice way of like arching, but the G-spot stimulation that if your partner has their hands free, they can roll your body. You can get really rough with it. And, I'm not opposed to consensually getting my head, how should you say, flattened into the mattress. Just being dominated in that way, consensually, and not with every partner, not every time. But I love it. Both of those positions. So I said that last time, reverse cowgirl last time. I'm gonna add in doggy style just to change it up.
Great. And both of those positions, I like to talk about, clitoral stimulation and how 95% of women need clitoral stimulation in order to orgasm, right? And so both doggy style and reverse cowboy or reverse cowgirl opens up the clitoris in a way that you can stimulate it with your hand or with the toy. And so both of those positions I highly approve of. But honestly, there's not a position that anybody has ever said that I don't highly approve of because, I love them all. And, you should experiment and try many positions because, there's more to life than missionary, and there's nothing wrong with missionary. I absolutely love missionary. There are so many variations, one leg up, both legs up, around the shoulders, around the arms. I mean, you can go on and on with missionary, right? There's like a million different positions, but exploring and trying different things, even trying different places in your home or different pieces of furniture, there's so much you can do to explore just in your own space, that I, encourage people to play because sex is our adult playground and, it's the perfect time to play.
I love that.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Lexi, for being here again today with me. And I want to make sure that all of my listeners can find you. So can you please let us know where we can find you?
Absolutely. You can find me and pretty much everything at LexiSylver.com. That's Lexi with an I, Sylver with a Y, as I always say. You can find me on social media too, usually, but at LexiSylver.com also. But you can absolutely find everything you need on my site. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Reach out to her if you're interested in ethical non-monogamy, and she specializes in swinging and newbies. So if you're a newbie wanting to enter into the lifestyle, definitely reach out to Lexi on LexiSylver.com. So again, thank you so much for being here with me today, Lexi. I really appreciate all of your information that you've shared with us and all of the fun and laughs that we've had together. And definitely check out SDC.com. SDC.com is a swinger and lifestyle website. But it is really a plethora of information. And we were talking about, finding ways to learn with your partner. And there are so many articles and so many webinars and it's connected to so many different podcasts about sexuality, in addition to being able to meet people all over the world who are, open-minded. So I definitely highly recommend you checking out that website. Go on to SDC.com and try it out for free. And please use my code 37340 so that they know who sent you. Once again, thank you so much, Lexi, for being here. Until next time.
Visit pleaseme.online to reach Eve or for more information on products to increase blood flow and overall health. For her curated list of her favorite toys, and for swag that shows that you are a big fan. Please consider supporting the show.